Namaskar, dear CS members and students. I, on behalf of the Institute, extend a very warm welcome to all of you. As you all may be aware that the Institute has been celebrating CS Students Month in July, so here's wishing everyone a very happy CS Students Month. The Institute came up with the initiative to hold the Students Month in July 2016. And since then, a plethora of activities are being organized during the month of July every year. The zeal and enthusiasm of the students, various directorates, and regions and chapter offices in celebrating the Student Month has been unprecedented since then. The contribution and guidance extended to us by our President, Vice President Sir, Secretary Sir, and Joint Secretary Sir in inception of Students Month is immense and can't be expressed in mere words. Further, as you all know, that over the years, celebration of Students Month has garnered a lot of attention with a large number of CS students participating in the CS Month with a lot of excitement and zeal, and this is translated to a greater connect of the students with the Institute. Keeping in view the grand success and grandeur of Students Month in previous years, it has been decided to take the same one notch higher by adding new activities and events so that a further impetus could be given to the zeal and enthusiasm of the students. Now let me share with you some of the major highlights of the CS month. During this month, we shall be organizing various competitions, launch of special initiative like memorial lecture in the memory of our deceased great leaders, classes of specific skills, Zero Grievance Day, Kargil Divas, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Career Awareness Week, to name a few of them. So this month is going to witness all of this and much, much more. So my dear members and students, today is indeed a special day, as we are remembering our beloved leader and past ex-Central Council member CS Sanjay Grover ji through a memorial lecture on his favorite topic, Secretarial Audit. CS Ranjit Pandey ji, past President ICSI, would be joining us as the guest speaker on the occasion. The Institute has taken this special initiative to pay tribute and homage to our great leaders who have significantly contributed to the profession of CS and have been the driving force behind the success of ICSI. Our Honorable Vice President CS Manish Gupta ji is the guiding force behind this initiative. The Institute had already organized one memorial lecture on 2nd of July in the memory of late CS S. Gangopadhyay ji, along with CS Pavan Vijay ji, past President, as the guest speaker. The lecture was appreciated by one and all. Similarly, the Institute would be organizing 4 more such memorial lectures in the memory of our past great leaders who are no more with us in this journey but are fondly remembered by all. Their contribution, vision, and guidance has provided greater heights to the profession of CS. The Institute can't thank them enough for their contribution. As today, we are organizing a memorial lecture in the memory of late CS Sanjay Grover ji, past ex-Central Council member of the Institute. It is my great privilege to be a part of this session and would like to share his contribution and profile with all of you. Please allow me a moment. Sir's wife, Mrs. Anjana Grover, would also be joining us. So I would please request all of you to please give us 10 seconds. So Anjana ma'am has joined us, so we will continue. As today we are organizing a memorial lecture in the memory of late C.S. Sanjay Groverji, past ex-Central Council member of the Institute. It is my great privilege to be a part of this session, and I would like to share his contribution and profile with all of you. A graduate in commerce from Sri College of Commerce, University of Delhi, Sanjay Groverji was also a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, along with being a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. Practiced as a company secretary and a managing partner in Sanjay Grover and Associates. He was elected as a Central Council member of the ICSI for the term 2011-14. He was also the chairman of NIRC of ICSI during the year 1995. Now, please allow me to give you a brief presentation on his contribution to the profession of company secretary. I request my IT team to please play the presentation. So we all can see that Sir had rich experience in corporate laws, compliance and management services. He had hands-on experience in secretarial audit. He sought approvals of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, compounding of offences under the provisions of the Companies Act 1956, corporate governance auditors, FEMA compliances and management consultants were few of the areas on which he worked. IT team, he shall always remain in our hearts and memories. Before moving ahead, I'd also like all of you to watch a small video in the loving memory of late Sanjay Grover sir. IT team, can you please play the video?
And miles to go before I sleep. Count not the miles I walked, but the distance I covered. Count not the moments I breathed, but the hours I laughed. Count not the stories I wrote, the lives I inspired. Innumerable human souls tread on the journey of life, but few leave an indelible mark on the sands of time. Sanjay was just that. While his list of professional achievements and accolades were incomparable, it was the friendly, genial, gregarious, inspiring, brutally honest, and fiercely uncompromising Sanjay who left a telling mark on the numerous lives he touched. A towering figure in the profession of chartered accountancy and company secretaryship, he was a gentleman among men. Someone who led by example. Someone who brought dignity, astute knowledge, and enviable intellectual and creative realms to his profession.
Can't believe a year has passed and Sanjay is no more with us. Sanjay was a dear friend and colleague, but I think above all he was a great human being. He was always in a positive frame of mind. I never heard him speak negatively about anybody. He was always willing to help, very dependable. He was also a thorough professional who was completely committed to the profession of company secretaries, to ICSI. In fact, we truly lost a gem who served the profession in various capacities. He also set up his own firm of practicing company secretaries and really flourished, inspiring others to follow. And I think he would have touched and impacted the lives of many.
When I had a professional need, I knew who was the person to call, and he was always ready and provided me the perfect solution.
I keep missing Shri Sanjay Grover, a highly rated resolution professional. I appointed him a resolution professional in one of the first cases under the IBC. He has to travel up to Raipur, where he met musclemen of the corporate debtor. Yet he performed his job very well when full help was furnished to him. He was fearless and honest. I wish him happiness wherever his soul is today.
The demise of Sanjay Grover came as a shock to us. He had been working with me when I was a chairman of the Appellate Authority. He was very sharp, always ready with facts and also the law on the subject. I will always miss him and miss his company because he had contributed a lot in disposal of matters which came up before me as chairman of the Appellate Authority. He was our close associate and an active member.
I found that as a true professional, Mr. Grover not only kept himself updated with the latest developments and leveraged his personal and professional skills. He also demonstrated his passion for developing others, especially the budding company secretaries.
As a practicing professional, Sri Sanjay used to visit ministry for healthy discussion. He was a thorough professional with deep domain knowledge and excellent presentation skills.
Adored by his seniors, respected by his colleagues, and emulated by those younger to him, Sanjay never let his professional excellence hang heavy on his shoulders. Forever approachable, gentle with his words, and easy with his disarming smile, Sanjay's charismatic personality always announced his arrival. Never one to let arrogance take over. He was a mentor and idol to scores of aspiring professionals, whom he took great pride in mentoring. And yet he inspired effortlessly, always allowing individual capabilities to shine forth. For he was not one who liked to tread the oft-trodden path, a pathbreaker who was equally at ease with veterans and novices. It was perhaps this enviable blend of professional excellence and warm camaraderie that drew Sanjay to so many people whose lives he impacted.
I knew Sanjay for the last about 23-24 years. I still remember his pleasant personality, his soft and mild way of putting through his arguments, his sweet and pleasant personality. Every day, I in fond hope of, probably there is a message from Sanjay. I look at my phone, I look at my WhatsApp. There was not even a single day when we had not exchanged some pleasantries, some messages. But even now, sometimes I look at my phone. Sometimes I try to find his phone number in my, and then try to dial, and then all of a sudden I just want like talking to him. But then all of a sudden I realize that no, Sanjay is not with us. That is so sad even to think. It is so sad. Yes, I know that soul, that so pious soul must be with God.
Sanjay Grover was a dear friend. He was a great professional, both as company secretary, chartered accountant, and as insolvency professional. I met him in 1985, a very young man, handsome man, at that time in JP Industries, and I could see in him a spark which could take the time of his life.
Sanjay was nice, good human being, very caring, a good husband, a loving father, and a reliable and trustworthy friend.
संजय ग्रोवर बहुत ही प्यारी शख्सियत का आदमी था. I can't claim to have known him very well or have worked with him for a number of years, but I knew him for a long time. And whenever I met him, इतनी गर्मजोशी से मिलना, इतनी रिस्पेक्ट से मिलना, And I think he always brought a fresh breath of air whenever he met. And beyond just being a very good professional, I think he was a very good soul. And I think the God Almighty wants such souls with him earlier than many others.
He is fondly remembered by his friends from Sri Ram College of Commerce.
From the very first time when I met him in 1977, we grew as friends so quickly because from the very beginning, there were so many things that impressed me about Sanjay, and I can only name a few. But he looked good. He was always wearing stylish clothes. He was one of the most serious guys and yet one of the funniest guys to be with. A most easygoing person. I never really saw him get angry with anybody, with no one. He got along well with girls, he got along well with guys, and we became friends forever. And that's the best. He's the best friend I've had.
He was my go-to person for any secretarial work which I have in India, or any company law registrar or company's work, any complicated work, he was there. A really extremely genuine human being. You could open your heart out for a person like him, and it's whether it was on personal front or professional, he was always there. Real gem of a person.
Sanjay, you are the light of many of the lives on this earth, particularly in our professional circle.
बहुत ही humble थे, बहुत ही शांत रहते थे. भले कोई भी प्रॉब्लम हो, उसको बिल्कुल अच्छी तरह टैकल करते थे, और कभी भी उनके चेहरे पे शिकन या घबराहट या पैनिक नहीं दिखाई देती थी. बहुत ही नम्र स्वभाव था उनका.
I just pray to God that he's happy and in bliss and in peace wherever he is.
Sanjay Bhai was an amazing person. He could connect with and be family to so many people because of his inherent goodness. He had humility, faith and knowledge all in abundance.
Sanjay, your absence will always be felt by each of us who knew you. The vacuum is permanent and ought to be for such a person. You were a fine friend, finer colleague and finer senior to the students and new company secretaries.
It was indeed a tribute to Sri Sanjay Grover's capabilities that he held key positions in many organizations all through his life. He was truly a visionary. Today, tributes pour in from the people who worked with him closely. Though a thorough professional, he had strong values too. Once he gave up the chairmanship of the NIRC because he felt a more senior person was more deserving.
Mr. Grover became the second insolvency professional in the country. The completely new profession, new kind of job. But initial days there was huge hostility, non-cooperation of the corporate debtors. But he, with exemplary courage, despite law and order situation, admirably resolved many distressed companies and became a model for other insolvency professionals. I think in his absence, I feel that the insolvency profession has lost a leader.
There are very few people who always remain in your heart and mind, irrespective of whether they are physically present here or not. Sanjay was one such person.
Even the memory of him gives boost for excellence, which is sine qua non for professional development, compliance and governance. His contribution to the profession is a milestone, and his big list of achievements during his tenure in his different roles of NIRC and ICSI are well known to us.
Mr. Grover's involvement in the well-being of CS profession and young professionals can be assessed from one single instance when the protest for Rule 8A was going on. Mr. Grover did not come to his office for more than 1 month, in spite of the fact that there is only 5-minute driving distance between Lodi Road headquarters where protest was going on and our office in Defence Colony. Following this strong protest, the institute's brass, including Mr. Grover, had to rush to the then Corporate Affairs Minister, Mr. Sachin Pilot, who was campaigning in Rajasthan. And thereafter, Rule 8A was introduced, which saved the young professional from losing their bread and butter.
He was always a helping hand almost for everyone in best possible ways, which made a space in the heart of people, including me.
Sanjay, when all of a sudden you left us on 2nd of January this year, I recall that professionals from across the country, from all institutions, whether in employment or in practice or having their own ventures, everybody remembered you.
As they say, the most fragrant flowers are snatched young and bloom eternally in the garden of heaven. Sanjay's lingering fragrance will continue to light up the lives and paths of many, while he himself will look down upon this mortal garden with love, fondness, and pride.
Thank you, IT team. That was really overwhelming and emotional. We greatly miss her. I am getting so overwhelmed. Okay. So, his contribution to the profession of CS is unparalleled, we all know. He was extremely soft-spoken, gentle, and a great leader who touched the lives of not only students and members, but also the employees of IC. So let's take this session further with the promise to take his legacy forward by taking the profession of CS to greater and newer heights. My dear friends, today is indeed special as Madam Anjana Grover, wife of CS Sanjay Grover ji, has joined us. I welcome you, ma'am, and request you to speak about her personal inspiration.
Shruti, I'm very touched by your tribute to Sanjay ji. I think Sanjay ji was a doyen of the company secretary profession. He lived by the motto of professionalism comes with competence and integrity. As we all know, he is known for his honesty, dedication, commitment, and hard work, and his thorough professionalism at all times. His contributions, as you rightly said, are unparalleled. He has played a pivotal role in guiding and forming the profession as we know it today. As a person, Sanjay ji was very simple, very humble, down to earth, forever helpful, so warm and so giving and generous. I think we all, in our personal capacity, must have experienced it sometime or the other. His goodness always reflected in his behavior. Sanjay ji gave equal respect to each and every individual, may it be the CFO of the organization or the PN of the organization. He was very respectful to each individual. His qualities, both as a person and professional, have created so much goodwill within the corporate world that we feel it even today, 2 years after Sanjay ji has passed. I am very grateful to ICSI the President, Mr. Devender Deshpande, Manish Gupta, Vice President, Secretary Ashish Mohanji, and past President and student who had trained with S. Sanjay Groverji and become the President of ICSI. With great pride, I would like to hand over the stage to him. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Gone too soon and too far are the words which one feels on hearing the name of Sanjay Groverji. And ma'am's participation in the event, ma'am, it has made it all the more special, exceptional, and emotional at the same time for all of us. We are really proud and blessed to be a part of this journey. A great son, father, friend, colleague, and above all, he was a great human being. Thanks again for joining us today, ma'am. We're really indebted. Now let's start the memorial lecture, for which we have C.S. Ranjit Pandey sir with us. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our request and kindly agreeing to address the members and students of the Institute during online memorial lecture on the topic Secretarial Audit in the memory of a great leader, C.S. Sanjay Groverji. We are sure that the participants will be immensely benefited by your enriched experience. It is our great honor and privilege to have you here. But before I hand over the session to Sir, I would like to share his brief profile with all of you. Sir is a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and a law graduate from Faculty of Law, Delhi University. He took over as the president of ICSI in January 2019 and is also the secretary, Corporate Secretaries International Association Limited. Having over 15 years of experience in the field of corporate and commercial laws, he is also an insolvency professional, registered with IBBI, and an ex officio member of the advisory board of Sri Aurobindo Foundation for Integral Management. Sir is a regular speaker at various national and international academic, industry, and media forums. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shruti. It's my pleasure to be part of this memorial lecture. And first of all, my namaskar to Anjana ma'am. It is nice to be with you here in the tribute lecture, and it is my immense pleasure to be part of this. I fondly remember that my training days when I joined Sanjay Groverji as a trainee, and I can say with the full conviction that whosoever has joined, they have got excellent training and excellent platform to perform. The most important thing was that he was always giving the open hand and platform to perform. If you are performing, if you are say performing on the merit, then you will definitely be rewarded professionally. So sir was a true mentor and guide, always to all the young professionals like me, and under his mentorship, I was able to excel through and through. As far as say practice areas are concerned, apart from having the good knowledge of the corporate law, he was having very good application on the say commercial corporate transactions also, wherein he always say given the business solution to the corporates and bring any problem. He will be able to solve it. If he knows, he will solve himself. If you don't know, then he will arrange some expert from somewhere that yes, problem of the client should be solved. So message to youngsters or young practitioner is always there that if you want to solve the problem, then you have to become the problem solver, and whatever means and whatever way to the client. So I think area of practice, diversified area of practice he was having, including secretarial audit. He was one of the leading secretarial auditor of the country. Apart from that, he was also a good mentor and guide. And thereafter, I would say that in appearance and say convincing the authority, that power was also great. As far as ICSI is concerned, he was one of the council member to be looked after by every president. And in fact, when you look at him, you have to get the work done from some of the council member, and technical works or corporate law related works can be done by some of the elected council member, and Sanjay Grover sir was one of them. So coming on to the topic now, which has been assigned to me, I will say that secretarial audit, though at that point of time it was not mandatory, but Sanjay Grover and Associates, the firm at that point of time, was handling the voluntary secretarial audit at that point of time also, in the form of due diligence or voluntary secretarial audit. So I have the pleasure of doing those for some of the client companies. So message is very clear that while doing the secretarial audit, what you need to perform, what you need to do as a professional. So finally, I will give my tribute and naman to Sanjay Grover sir and entire family, and his message to the professional fraternity and to the leaders of ICSI who are going to come in future, that profession should be first, value and quality of services should be first, and we should be able to perform our duty diligently and with all honesty and commitment. So this is the message I want to give for and on behalf of Sanjay Grover sir, that even at ICSI platform, if you want to perform, you have to take forward the vision of ICSI, motto of ICSI, the Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara. Coming to the secretarial audit presentation part, I will share my presentation and then I'll move forward for the So first of all, topic assigned to me is secretarial audit. Preferred and theme for the year is preferred professional. And secretarial audit as a tool of corporate governance, I must say that it is one of the by the past council members with lot of dedication and commitment. All the past president, all the past council members. I remember that secretarial audit word was there in the regulation since beginning. But secretarial audit has become reality after 20 years. 1993 bill was mentioning the word secretarial audit, but 2013 it has become the reality. So you can see that what kind of efforts these leaders might have done in the past for last 20 years to make this dream come to real. So friends, secretarial audit is a concept where all the practicing company secretaries or even employee company secretaries try to work, join hand together, work and take it to the newer height, make it as a good governance tool. I will briefly touch upon the various provisions and thereafter I will be going on to the audit part and drafting part of it. So my concentration today will be on audit part and drafting part of the secretarial audit report. So briefly I will touch upon the provisions. Section 205 read with 143 is enabling sections. Rule 9 is talking about appointment and remuneration person, and it is talking about secretarial audit. Secretarial standard issued by ICSI is also one of the most important thing which is important for the secretarial audit. ICSI guidance note on the secretarial audit is also there, and ICSI auditing standards with the help of one more council member. I will name CS Vineet Chaudhary ji, who is spearheading this auditing standard this year also, and from last 3 years he has done tremendous work in the auditing standards of ICSI, and with his efforts in the year 2019 able to release this auditing standard, and 2, 3, 4 guidance note on the auditing standard is prepared by our honorable council member Vineet Chaudhary ji. So big thanks to him also for the auditing standard. Applicability, it is applicable to every listed company, public company having share capital more than 50 crores and public company having turnover to 50 crore and company having borrowing more than 100 crores. So this borrowing part has been added in the year 2019 through amendment in the rule, and now company having the borrowing also included as in the secretarial audit fold. So what is the objective of the secretarial audit? As I have told in the beginning, and in fact all the professionals including Sanjay Grover sir, whenever he was acting as a council member, they have always advocated that secretarial audit should not be the checkbox exercise, it should not be treated as a compliance audit, it should be treated as a governance audit. And ensuring effective corporate governance is one thing which is most important objective of the secretarial audit. Second, we should become the support system for setting up and improving monitoring process and system of compliance culture in the company. So we should not only do the secretarial audit as a tick box exercise by the corporate. We should also go ahead and say that through this audit on a quarterly basis, what we will do, we'll try to say inculcate the good compliance culture into the company. So we need to become the friend, philosopher and guide to the corporates for taking this forward. Timely detection of non-compliance. I always say that secretarial audit should be a continuous audit. It should not be the year-end audit. And if it is continuous audit, then definitely timely detection of non-compliance and fraud can be ascertained on a quarterly basis and corrective measures can be taken. Then safeguarding interest of all employee stakeholders and stakeholders through the secretarial audit can be achieved. What is the scope of the secretarial audit? The then President Mr. R and the then Council has issued an advisory to the members that what could be the scope of the secretarial audit and where 5 laws, that these 5 laws which is part of the MR3 report should be one of the main thing, that these 5 laws should be dealt with very comprehensively. So that is one. Second part or second limb of the secretarial audit is compliance of other law as may be applicable specific to the company. So other law may be banking company, insurance company, petroleum sector company, pharmaceutical company. So law which is applicable because you are into this particular industry segment should be say dealt
Excuse me, sir. Dear members and students, I think sir is facing a network issue. Please allow us a minute to work on it. Please allow us a minute, he's joining back.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can see you. And you're audible.
Okay. So presentation is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Sorry for the technical glitches. So I was coming on this particular part, that examining and reporting whether adequate system and process is compliance. This is very vast area of practice, and I can say with the full confidence, determination, that this is one area where we can progress with the, say, concept of complying or reporting the all laws. But institute is always insisting that you should focus mainly on the adequate system and process of reporting, process of managing the compliances. Then financial law, like tax law, custom laws, secretarial auditor may rely upon the report of other professionals. They are not supposed to go deep into it. They can go through. It is very clearly said that you should go through reports, but you follow those particular points. Now moving forward, these are the key points for verification under the Companies Act, and I will refer some of the important transactions very briefly. First is
Sir, your voice is breaking. Excuse me.
Minutes, records, and register. So first part is talking about records and register. Second part is talking about filing of forms, returns, and documents.
Sir, your voice is breaking. Excuse me, sir. Sir, your voice is breaking.
I'm trying to stay connected.
Okay. No problem.
So, meeting of directors, meeting of committee holders, decision of the board and committee. So, we should also concentrate upon board and committee meetings and shareholders. Decision on the compliance of the secretarial standards, disclosure, appointment and remuneration of directors and KMPs, issue of shares and other transmission of securities and shares, bonus, dividend, deposits, borrowing, loan, investment, guaranteed securities, loans and to directors, related party transactions, charges, and corporate social responsibility. So all these are the main part of the Companies Act which is required to be verified by the Secretarial. Shruti, I am audible?
Yes, sir. Very clearly now, sir.
So next part is verification of the SEBI Act and listing regulations. There are regulations which is mentioned in the MR3 form itself, and these are the regulations which are displayed on your screen which is required to be verified. So I am not going on to the part, I am skipping it. FEMA, only FDI, ODI and ECB is required to be reported. Then coming on to the what our auditing standard is saying, Secretarial Audit and CSAS4, It is talking about identification and segregation of applicable law, identification of events and corporate actions. So all the corporate actions are required to be taken up. Verification of the compliance, verification of the board composition as per the Companies Act and SEBI LODR. Then verification of the board processes. This is one of the most important part because MR3 format is also talking about board process. Verification of system and process of legal and procedural compliance. This I have already discussed in detail. Detection of reporting of fraud, and then reporting of event and actions having major bearing in the affairs of the company. So this is our second auditing standard, which is saying that these points are required to be verified by the Secretarial Auditor as a professional. What is the board process? In board process, special. So we understand what is the board process. It's talking about adequate composition of the board structure, selection process, and succession planning, etc. Response to the information or the clarification on the agenda by the directors. Say, for example, agenda has been circulated to the board. What company is doing to respond to their queries? What is the mechanism? What is the system is there in the this particular part? Then third one is deficiency, if any, in the board and process, convening agenda, circulation, conducting minutes and recording. So this is also required to identify. If it is fine, then no reporting. But if there is a deficiency, you need to report it properly. And recording of the dissenting view, if any, in the audit or in the say board minutes or meeting. So idea here is that right from the composition of the board till the time recording of the minutes, everything should be streamlined. Everything should be as per the secretarial standards issued by ICSI and rules framed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. So this is what Secretarial Auditor is required to check that these things are complied with. Another important aspect which is there in the Secretarial Audit framework and MR3 format is whether company has the proper compliance mechanism. This is the statement in the Secretarial Audit report which Secretarial Auditor generally certify. It is talking about setting the compliance scope and fixing responsibility of each and every individual in the organization who is related to the compliance. Reporting of the compliances to the board. What is the reporting pattern of the company, how compliances are being collated, done, and thereafter reported to the board. Then monitoring of the significant litigation by or against the company, adequacy of the internal control system, process of reporting of material event impacting the company's future, and existence of whistleblower policy. So all these things are part of the compliance mechanism, and since it's part of the compliance mechanism, this is required to be verified by the company secretary in practice while doing the secretarial audit. And why it is must? Because normally this particular part we ignore. Why? Because it is in the opening paragraph somewhere one word has been written that compliance mechanism is there in the company or not. We generally focus on the legal part of it, like Life 4 Companies Act and all other legal law has been checked, security law has been checked, and audit is completed. It is not like that. We need to go through the board process also, compliance mechanism also. Now I am going on to the third part of my presentation. What is the audit process? So if you talk about the audit process, first of all, auditor has to be engaged, and offer and proposal, maybe through proposal, maybe through tendering process, offer has to be taken. Then consent letter will be given by the secretarial auditor. Then appointment will be done by the board through board resolution. You have to sign some non-disclosure agreement also for the purpose of say maintaining the confidentiality. Mandate letter and engagement letter is also required to be say signed. And I would suggest every professional that this engagement letter must be signed and executed before taking the assignment. And if some other auditor was taking up the audit at say for the previous financial year, that particular auditor should also be intimated well in advance to the compliance of the say code of conduct issued by the ICSI. so that no disciplinary mechanism should be the person. Audit engagement, what our secretarial auditing standard is saying, CSAS1, it is saying that at appointment for any audit can be done as per the applicable law, but confirmation regarding eligibility has to be done by the auditor. So auditor need to confirm that I am eligible to become the secretarial auditor or any of the auditor of the company. Obtaining auditing engagement letter from the company, this has to be done well in advance before starting of the assignment. Communicating to the predecessor or previous auditor, then no substantial conflict of interest. So you should not have any conflict of interest with the company, so that you should be independent secretarial auditor of the company. Moving forward, audit engagement also talks about the confidentiality, and if there is a change in the term of engagement, then it has to be with the only reasonable justification, and if that change is there, then revised engagement letter or addendum should be issued. What should be there in the engagement letter? Your scope should be clearly defined, whether you will be doing quarterly audit, whether you will be doing half-yearly audit, whether you will be, say, going for the annual audit or concurrent audit. All things should be decided. In fact, scope may include other laws also. If company want you to go deep into the details, visit the plants also, visit the factories also, work warehouse also, then that can be part of the scope of secretarial audit. Date of appointment should be mentioned. Periodicity, quarterly, half-yearly, annual should be mentioned. Your fees, most important thing, should be mentioned into that. Confidentiality clause must be there, and some termination clause should be there, that if you are terminating me, at least say a month notice should be there, and I should not be terminated then and there. So that is also one of the part. Now moving preparedness by the auditing company. What auditing company is required to do for the purpose of preparing them for the secretarial audit? Only one slide I will be taking up, that what auditing company is required to do for the preparation of the secretarial audit. First, what they need to do, identify the all applicable laws to the company. Second, they should have the coordination among the various departments responsible for the compliance. Who is doing compliance? What is the in-depth of the compliance? What is the reporting format? And thereafter, reporting of those compliances to the compliance officer of the company. Moving forward, these are the four stages I would say, that 4 stages every auditor has to follow, every company has to follow during the course of audit. And this is on the part of the auditing company. First is identification and appointment process. How to identify the auditor and how to appoint them. First is scope of the secretarial audit has to be defined, frequency, timeline, who will be the resource person who will be coordinating with the secretarial auditor, how you will ensure the confidentiality of your data and document. If secretarial auditor is coming, confidentiality clause is always there. But apart from that, how you will maintain and ensure that information taken away or document taken away by the secretarial auditor are not misused. So that part company is required to take care. Then pre-audit preparation. First is you need to ask the document checklist from the secretarial auditor. You may ask the document checklist, or you prepare your own checklist and then ask from the auditor, mix merge those checklists and then prepare the document. Requisition from the other department may be possible, that some of the documents are required from some other department or other units. Then that collation of the information has to be done by the secretarial auditor, by the company before start of the secretarial audit. You update your record well in time so that auditor should not be pointing the small mistakes. Then validation of the record by some of the seniors. Then comes audit. During the course of audit, you make a record room, do some administrative arrangement, submit record to the secretarial audit for auditing, then depute someone who can be assistant to the secretarial auditor, and they should be able to provide or submit the record, provide the response to the inquiry. In response to the inquiry, I would always suggest that it should not be done by the junior staff. It should be done by the company secretary himself, so that proper response should be given to the inquiry of the secretarial audit. Documentation has to be done and supplied to the secretarial auditor, which can be created as the audit evidence. Then post-audit discussion and closure, this is required to be done. So all the inquiry has to be closed. Taking the issues to the other departments, say for example, some issues are coming and qualification is there in the audit report, then those things should be taken up to the other department for remedial measure. Then final report can be given, and thereafter if something is left out and non-compliances are there, those corrective measures should be then taken, whatever we have committed to the secretarial auditor. Moving forward, audit principles, technique and process. This is another important point because we have started the journey of audit in the year 2014 itself. So we are not very old in the auditing field. So what we need to do, we need to learn the auditing principles, techniques and processes also. So as far as auditing process and documentation are concerned, there are CSAS2 auditing standard issued by ICSI, which is talking about plan to conduct audits as per the audit engagement. So whatever you are doing, you mention in the audit engagement that this is my plan. So audit planning means establishing and developing an overall audit process, including but not limited to number one, identification of broad area of audit. What is your coverage? Then seeking the previous audit finding observation from the management and predecessor of the previous audit. Determination of the subject matter and auditing areas requiring special attention. Risk assessment and materiality. This materiality is also very, very important. One of the most important thing, because what we tend to do as a secretarial auditor, we just find some small mistakes of the corporate and we try to report them. I think our auditing standard is now talking about materiality concept. So you as a secretarial auditor, try to find that what is material for you, what is not material for you. Say for example, some form has been delayed by 1 day. Whether as a secretarial auditor I should report? Answer to my mind is no. Why? Because 1 day delay with the additional fee they have filed. So compliances have been done properly within the framework of law, which should not be reported. So kind of concept of materiality. So today I was attending one seminar in Faridabad, and there it has been asked that what is the difference between the say annual secretarial compliance report and secretarial audit. It is overlapping. I suggest that annual secretarial compliance report is focusing on the minutes of the detail of the compliances, but audit report is not the compliance report. It is gone on the say concept of risk assessment, materiality and overall compliances and governance done by the company. So materiality concept is one of the most important concept which every auditor should follow. Follow some auditing techniques I will discuss in little bit in detail later on in the next subsequent slide. Audit allocation of the audit process for the audit. So that is also required for conducting the audit. And here one of the most important thing is that person who is not expert of FEMA should not be auditing the FEMA. Person who is not expert of security law should not be doing the security law. So auditing techniques, allocation of the audit resource for the audit, and then preparation of the audit schedule. So prepare the audit schedule. Then gather the sufficient information about the auditing, prepare audit checklist, collation and verification of the audit evidence, third party confirmation wherever required, analysis of the audit evidence, documentation of the audit evidence and finding, and record keeping and retention of the audit documents. This audit evidence is required to be kept by you for so many years. So you just keep, because kind of regulatory environment we are into it. If you have certified some secretarial audit report and after even 5 years, somebody asks that on what ground and what basis you have given this statement in the, then you will have to definitely tell the regulators that on this basis I have certified document. So audit evidence is also one of the most important thing. Let me take you through the auditing principles. There are certain auditing principles a professional need to follow. First is planning. Plan your audit well. Second one is team building. Build your team in such a manner that they have expertise and balancing in all area of audit. So whatever is there in the scope, you should have the competent team or competent manpower to deal with all aspects of the audit. Then you do the team briefing. Team briefing is also important. That what is your expectation from the audit team? As a signatory to the auditor report, you need to brief your team. What skill and competence is required to carry the competence of the team? Tell them that you need to follow auditing principle. Tell them that impartial, we have to be impartial while reporting. You tell yourself that while giving the report, I should be impartial. Integrity and independence. No point of time secretarial auditor should be compromising the integrity and his independence of as a secretarial auditor. If you are not independent, resign immediately and let other person come as who is independent to collate, collect and preserve the auditing evidence for future references and for this audit period also. And last but not least, you be consistent while conducting the secretarial audit. Auditing principles, how to collect the audit evidence. I think collection of the auditing evidence can be done by the several sources. First source is information of arriving at the conclusion for forming opinions. First is original minutes, registers, electronic data, confirmation like management representation from the company, sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidences, degree of risk, internal control environment, materiality concept, nature of and extent of error. So all these things are required to be taken care while collecting the audit evidence, reporting the implication of inability to obtain the evidence. Sources can be internal, external, third party written representation by the company. And what process you will follow for the purpose of collecting the evidence is inspection, observation, inquiry and confirmation from the company by way of management representation. Planning part I have already discussed, so I am skipping this particular point. Let's go on to the auditing technique. While conducting the audit, auditor has to apply some techniques because you cannot verify all the data, all the information, all the audit reports, everything you cannot do. So how to do it? First is examination. Examine the documents and record available with you. So that is first thing. Second thing is inquiry. And what is inquiry? Inquiry is like you need to go in detail and ask the questions from the auditing, management or auditor or whosoever is available during the course of audit and can identified the person who can provide the information. So inquiry is another technique which auditor generally follow. Third one is confirmation. So this is nothing but the management information. Fourth one is sampling technique. If I talk about the sampling technique of audit, it is very, very clear that, say for example, share transfer. And out of 10, if I am finding everything all right, then I will say that yes, it is satisfactory to my say verification that yes, compliances have been done. Compliance test, some point of time, process of compliance has to be also be tested. That is called compliance test. Then substantive checking, some point of time, like insider trading, substantive verification is warranted. So you go for the substantive checking. Dependence on other expert. It may be possible that you are not expert of a particular field. Say for example, some labor law consultant is required or some FEMA consultant is required. So you can get the audit done from them and you can take the report from them for the purpose of your certification. So it is kind of outsourcing part of function to the other auditor or other consultant. Then finally, after collection of all the information, You just go through and analyze all the things for the purpose of preparation of the report. Audit process, I will just briefly touch upon the audit process. First is you accept the audit. You are appointed, you accept the audit. After acceptance, communicate to the previous incumbent that yes, I have been appointed as an auditor. You are the previous auditor. Let me inform you as per the ICSI guidelines that I am going to take up this particular audit. So it has to be communicated before taking up the assignment, but after appointment. Finalization of audit plan, you finalize your audit plan, broad framework of audit. Finalize your audit team and give the team a proper briefing. Do the preliminary discussion and meeting and survey with the client company. Then examination and verification, examine and verify the records. Do the test check, inquiry and confirmation, apply the auditing techniques and conduct the audit, and then substantive checking if required. Then analyze all the information, prepare audit track record and auditing evidence, ask for the management representation if required, and then forward audit summary to the client for the purpose of discuss the observation with the company, and then submit the draft report. After submission of the draft report, they get the confirmation on the audit qualification that this is my audit qualification, you confirm, and finally submit the final report to the company. So last part of my presentation, I will be going on to the drafting and reporting. This is one. I have just briefly discussed the reporting part, and this is reporting. Let me go through the drafting and reporting. So as far as drafting is concerned, I will take you through the MR3 itself and where and which important areas you should keep in mind while drafting the MR3. First of all, in the every audit report, don't forget to mention UDIN. You need document identification number. You need document identification number. So it is on the basis of the financial year, so heading will remain the same and there is no need to alteration. I will just discuss where alteration and modification can be done by the secretarial auditor. So first is, we have conducted the secretarial audit of the compliance of applicable statutory provision and adherence of good corporate practices. I am stopping here. Good corporate practices. So you need to audit the good corporate secretarial practices also. If company is not following the practices like secretarial standard company is not following, then you can not simply write that company is following the good secretarial practices. The secretarial audit was conducted in a manner that provided as a reasonable basis for evaluating corporate conduct and statutory compliances. So they are saying that secretarial audit conduct and its statutory compliances by the company. Now, second paragraph, I will just go directly onto the compliance part, and it says that complied with the statutory provision listed here under, and also that the company has proper board process. I have discussed well in detail what is proper board process. So this is part of the audit report that you need to certify that company has proper board process. If company is not following the proper board process, then you need to report that company is not following the proper board process. And compliance mechanism in place to the extent in a manner and subject to reporting hereunder. So next part is these 5 laws. So it is nothing, Companies Act, Foreign Exchange Management, Security Act, Listing Agreement, and special law which is applicable to the company. So all these 5 things are required to be verified. So nothing great. In this particular part, I will say only one thing, that wherever there is a non-compliance of the law, you have to report here itself below this particular thing that Companies Act has been complied, but subject to following observation, reservation and adverse remarks of me as a secretarial auditor, and those remarks has to be mentioned here itself, like I have given it. Because this opening sentence says that during the period under review, company has complied with the provisions of Act, rules, regulation, guidelines mentioned above. That means all 5 things mentioned above, subject to following observation. This way, in bold and italic, you give the observation, because it is the qualification or observation or adverse remark by the secretarial auditor. Bold and italic, point wise, whatever non-compliances has been done by the company or whatever compliances has not done by the company has to be reported. Then comes a further report that these are the things. So composition of the board, then system exists for the seeking and further information and clarification by the board. And then last part is saying that all the decisions are carrying unanimously. If decisions are not carried unanimously, you need to modify this statement and you can say that all the decisions carried unanimously except this, or all the decisions are carried with majority. So unanimously word will be replaced by the majority. So some modification is required to be done by in the MR3. It cannot be called that it is a static report and you as a secretarial auditor cannot modify the part. Basic structure of the format will remain same, but you have to modify it as a secretarial auditor wherever necessary. The members of the board have expressed dissenting view on any of the agenda item during the financial year under review. If there is no dissenting view, you will modify the statement. If there is a dissenting view, you will have to write that there is a dissenting view. Then another important part is we further report that adequate system and process in the company commensurate with the size and operation of the company to monitor and ensure compliance of applicable law. So it is talking about adequate system and process of compliance commensurate with the size and operation of the company to monitor and ensure compliance. So this part also secretarial auditor is required to give thrust upon, and thrust should be on the adequate system and process. It is not saying anywhere that you should go deep into each and every law and check each and every compliance and report it. If system and process is such which is capable of maintaining the ensuring and maintaining, monitoring the compliance, then that is sufficient. Then last two parts of the secretarial audit report is like that during the period member company has afforded their to. So some of the special areas like borrowing limit has been increased to 500 crore to 1,000. So this is important thing. Some important affairs which is varying of the affairs of the company, like corporate restructuring has been done, assets have been sold out, assets has been mortgaged. So what that kind of things which has the material bearing on the affairs of the company or material compliances or non has to be reported. Last part of the paragraph. So here I would like to say and suggest that as a secretarial auditor, there are ample opportunity, and I will go back to the previous slide and I will say that I was as a company secretary in practice before the secretarial auditor was not entitled to.
So your voice is breaking, sir.
Of the company for because of this law audible, Shruti?
Yes, sir. Now it is.
So what I am trying to suggest here is that this particular clause has to be respected and regarded, and we as a professional try to expand our horizon beyond the compliances and go and help the corporate to have the proper and system and process at every location, every place, wherever they are operating in regard to, because now even labor codes are coming, and if codes are coming, 4 labor codes are required to be complied by every company wherever establishment or factory is there.
So we can't hear you.
For the professional to verify the Companies Act, security law, specifically applicable law, other law, board process, system, compliance mechanism, and also other laws, system and process of compliance of the company. Lastly, I will say that under the chairmanship of B. Narasimhan sir, we have constituted one task force in the year 2019 to change this particular MR3 and make it more holistic and take it to the next level to make the governance audit report. So that committee with the few bureaucrats and great professionals has submitted its report to the council. Council has deliberated the report and it has been submitted to the ministry. Due to lockdown, last 1.5 years, we were not able to push it forward. But now we are again started pushing forward to the ministry that this particular format has to be amended to make it more robust, more speaking compliance report or governance report by the practicing professional, and in fact some of the concept like appointment of the secretarial auditor and removal of the secretarial auditor should also be monitored by the MCA, or it should be done through the proper platform. Similarly, rotation of the auditor concept should also be introduced. So these are the changes we have proposed in the before the ministry for the purpose of implementation. Let's see if ministry's take is forward, then definitely this secretarial audit concept is going to be the governance audit concept in times to come. So with this, I will be concluding my memorial lecture, and I will be giving big tribute to the Sanjay Grover sir at last for the guiding us in the council also as a mentor and senior professional also throughout our lives and throughout his life for betterment and development of the profession of the company. So it is a big tribute for on behalf of ICSI, all the CS fraternity members and students. I convey my thanks to all the family member of Sanjay Grover sir, and also tribute to Sanjay Grover sir for giving the best to the profession and keeping the flag of ICSI always high, flag of the professional always high. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was an extremely informative session. You are a true leader in every sense, a motivator, inspirer, and a thorough professional. Your incredible journey from aspiring to be a cricketer to a successful entrepreneur is seriously commendable and inspiring. Hope the next generation also treads on your path of success and glory. As we are remembering CS Sanjay Grover sir, we are thankful to him for the legacy which he has left behind and urge the students and our prospective members to take a cue and follow on his footsteps. We are greatly thankful to our President sir, Vice President sir, Secretary sir, Srivastava sir, Joint Secretary, Director of Student Services and Training, Gitanjali, Shalini, Geeta, along with the entire team of Student Services and Training for their continuous support throughout the program. So before closing the session, I request all the students to keep checking their emails for further programs related to Students Month and the other 4 memorial programs of the Institute. Hope to see you all in the next sessions as well. So thank you all for joining. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
You've added shine. This was the program for Sanjay Grover, sir. And it has really added the extra sheen. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thank you, Ranjit. Wonderful session,
so much,
and I'm very happy. Yeah, feel very proud and privileged to be part of this. I think Sanjayji's dream was to make being a chartered accountant and company secretary both. He chose the path less trodden, and he wanted to have the CS profession parallel to the CA. So somewhere he would be very happy to see leaders like Ranjit ji venturing to make that a parallel, as he had always endeavored to do all his life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. At the end, I think I have spoken to you and you asked that it is a great concept which has been started. So this session cannot be completed until I say that whose brainchild it was. And our Vice President Manish Gupta ji has conceptualized this idea of memorial lecture with the consultation of the President. So my special thanks to Manish Gupta and Devendra Deshpande for conceptualizing idea, and in fact great thanks to the team of the TEFC, in fact student services. They have taken it forward and team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for joining. Thank you all for joining. Good day and thanks again.